Today on the Winning with Shopify podcast.
I was like, okay, how do I do this? My dad, I think I learned a lot with him since I was little. He was always like trying to make money. He was always like, hustling.
There are so many brands trying to do what you're doing very effectively.
Choose your heart. Everything is hard. Becoming a blogger is hard. Like being an entrepreneur is hard. So having a job is hard. Like just choose yours, right?
The nature of a trend is it's here now and it's definitely going to be gone very soon.
I've been using Shopify since I was 21 in college. So
You're one of the early adopters then, or?
I do remember that, like for so long. Sometimes people ask me like, Isabel, where do you want to go? I'm like, the moon.
Our partners at Seguna have released a brand new app for Shopify, and it's called Shopify Connect for Canva. You can essentially look at all of your product images from Shopify directly in Canva and export them straight back. This can save you a lot of time. If you want to find out a bit more about this or go and find the app yourself, you can go to seguno.com/Canva. Enjoy. So Isabella, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Nice to
I'm
meet
good,
you.
Isabel. How are you doing? You well?
Good, I'm great. Thank you so much for the invite.
Good. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. And everybody tuning in is going to be like, right, Isabel, not heard of you, not seen the brand before. So why don't you start off by give us a little bit of an overview to your background and a little bit about the business and the Shopify store and how
Yeah.
you got started in the first place.
So I basically started years ago. I was in sophomore year. I started a brand with my friend. We used to sell bikinis at that point. It was a completely different business. It was a completely different market, I would say. Everything was completely different. But the thing is that that was kind of like my first business and when I got the experience I needed like for the brand today. Eventually, Akalia started by the end of 2020, right when COVID was happening, and I think it was kind of a breakthrough. We were like all at home. We were like I still have my 9 to 5 and all of that. So basically, I already had like all this experience from college that I was selling swimsuits with my friend, and we used to sell to mom and pop like smaller stores and things like that. So then eventually what I did is that I took that experience and I started cold calling small stores to kind of do some kind of wholesale orders. I was not selling bikinis anymore. I was selling clothing. So, everything was a little bit different. So yeah, that's kind of like where I started. I can just say that I started like renting a small storage space. I think it was like $50 a month or something
Wow.
to put like all of my merchandise there because I was working at the time at this company. So for me, it was impossible to, of course, like fulfill my orders. So what I was doing is basically I paid this girl that she was an Uber driver to go there every like 2 days in a week to basically pack my orders and ship them. So that was kind of like my first warehouse,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we're gonna say anything fancy.
Nice.
So
I love the
yeah,
way you just grafted it at the start though, because I mean, $50 for a warehouse space, cold
I
calling
know.
companies to try and get stock or provide stock, and then getting an Uber driver to take the stock to get it all delivered as
I
well.
know
Like,
it was so funny because I was like, okay, how do I do this? Because I cannot. I was sleeping super late because I was coming from work and I was like packing orders. So, because at that time I remember I got approached. The designs were like very cool, and I got approached from this retailer back in the days. The name was Wolf and Badger, and
yeah, yeah, we
yes,
know them.
in London actually, and
Yeah, yeah.
yes, and so they wanted to work with me at that time. And I do remember that I started getting like international orders, and that thing was going through DHL, right? And I was like, how do I like leave my office and go to like DHL? I cannot say that I'm sick. So one day I was just inside of an Uber, and the girl was super nice to me. I hope she sees this podcast. And she
That'd be
was she
amazing.
was she was like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I have my job. I also started my brand." And I was like, "Hey, do you want to like work for me?" And she's like, "Wait, what do I do?" I'm like, "I'll just pay you like $7 per order, and you can just like pack them like every Tuesday and Thursday and just ship them." That was my first employee.
Wow, so good. I mean, if she is watching, then I hope you enjoy this because be
Hopefully.
a trip down memory lane for both of you guys. I love the way you bootstrap though. And I'll be honest, I've had a quick look at the business on your website and stuff before, obviously recording this interview. But it doesn't look like that at all now. I mean, tell us where you are today because it looks like a really like amazing high street fashion, like luxury retail business. Tell us about where you are today and how you've got there.
Well, you're talking about bootstrapping. That's essentially what
Mm,
I did. It was so funny because at some point, I was using my savings, right? But like at some point, even my family was like, "Do you need help? Do you need anything? I see you like struggling, whatever." Like, "No, no, no, I'm good, I'm good." But my dad, I think I learned a lot with him since I was little. He was always like trying to make money. He was always like, hustling, hustling, hustling. And he, we come, it's I always see my family like work a lot and things like that. And he gave me like a lot of good advice. And then one of the advices was like, "Don't get credit lines. You're gonna like it's gonna be a problem for you." I'm like, how do I do this like without like credit lines? How do I need to use debt in my favor? And I remember that I got like this credit lines and I didn't tell anybody. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like, whatever. I think it's gonna work out. And eventually, I started using credit lines. I was not profitable for the first years at all. I was reinvesting, but then I knocked every single door I could, and then eventually I got into Macy's, which is a department
Wow.
store.
Yeah, yeah,
And
massive.
yeah, so basically after that, I was, by the beginning of 2022, more or less, I was a little bit more able to like leave my full time. And yeah, that's how I went from like that to what is today. But I'm such a high achiever. I mean, I'm in a position today where I'm comfortable, but I'm like I want more, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Macy's is cool. I sometimes shop at Macy's from the UK if I'm sending
yeah,
anything to people in the US. It's one of the only places you can actually use a UK like credit or debit card to
yeah,
buy things in the US. All the US sites you need to use a US card, so I know Macy's quite well.
yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely amazing. Like, you obviously got a Shopify store as well. When did you launch the Shopify store? Like, how long have you been running that for?
I've been using Shopify since I was 21 in college.
Okay,
So
so you're one of the early adopters then, or
I do remember that, like, for so long. Yeah, Shopify, I think, is the best one, especially, when you're starting off, you need to well, I did a lot of, like, little fairs and things like that, and, I do remember like using my I mean the app itself on my phone and charging people. So it's so easy to use. You don't need to. It's not rocket science or whatsoever. An app plugin is like super easy. You can even like tax wise, it can help you like calculate everything for your accountant. It's I think the interface is just beautiful. It's perfect, and I think it's getting better with the day with any with time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I mentioned earlier, and I can't remember if it was before or after I hit the record button, so I'll say it again. But you guys, obviously, you're positioned as a really nice kind of, I would say, kind of middle to high end sort of
Yeah,
fashion
totally.
retail brands. Yeah. What are some of the key principles to stand out in that industry? And the reason I ask this question is there are so many brands trying to do what you're doing very effectively. How do you stand out? How do you create USPs? How do you create a unique experience so people shop with you, not anybody
Yeah.
else? Like,
Uh,
I know it's not easy, but what were some of the key steps for you?
Look, if I was to start in the fashion industry today, I would think about it because I think it's very hard. But I always say like choose your heart. Everything is hard. Becoming a blogger is hard. Like being an entrepreneur is hard. So having a job is hard. Like just choose yours, right? But like what happens is that at least for me, I think that you need to invest in your products so much, sometimes more than in your marketing, because you can have like the most beautiful website, the most beautiful customer experience, like the most beautiful branding and having this amazing influencer promote you. If the product is not quality in the long run, you're not going to get anywhere. So I think we stand out because of two things: quality first, and second one, is the idea that when you buy from us, you're actually empowering some charities, because we work with some charities along the way. um, so we're always, this year we work with the Big Dog Small Dog Ranch in the US. We were part of this beautiful gala. Before, when I started the brand, I was working with the Red Cross in Venezuela. So it's really like that idea of giving back. And also, it's limited edition collections, meaning that we don't mass produce, we're slow fashion. So essentially, what happens is that the same dress, you won't find it in another collection exactly the same. It's just a limited quantity, so it's not like you're going to a fast fashion brand and going across the street and there's going to be five girls with the same dress. So that's basically what set us apart. And also, we have like pretty cool things and perks on the website. Like if you shop from us, we have free express domestic shipping. um, we also have a very cute packaging. We also expanded to waterproof fashion jewelry, which is basically fashion jewelry pieces that you can go on the water with them. We can go on the on the sun with them or things like that, and
Yeah, yeah.
it won't
Which
torn.
really sells to your customer as well. I mean, that's where your
Yeah,
customer
for
wants to be all
course,
the time is in the
sure.
sun.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
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 yeah.
for sure.
Amazing. I mean, I absolutely love that. So I'm writing notes on this because I think these are some really cool key principles to the business. So quality product, helping charities by making a purchase in this thing. Limited edition. I want to talk about that a little bit more in a sec because I love that. I think that's a really unique thing. Free express delivery, waterproof jewelry, which waterproof jewelry I'd almost separate from those and say that's a bit more of a that's like an execution of product, which is really
Yeah,
really key, which relates to the
totally.
first point. Limited edition though, I think that's really powerful in this day and age. We work with a client who they only make the product when you order it, and it will arrive in 2 to 3 days. So like literally 2 days after you order, products there, but we only make it when you order because we basically just got tons and tons of material here. And when you place the order, we actually use the material to make stuff. And I love that kind of zero waste. Having the limited edition though, that must open up so many doors for you guys with marketing to say that we've just done another drop or whatever you guys call them internally. But this is there's a new range that's out. You can only get it from us, and it is limited edition again. So when it's gone, it's gone. It must create a bit of urgency amongst your customers to go, oh, I love this range, or on the email, the SMS message, or the
Yeah, totally.
advert they see. This drives us in. That must be really powerful for you guys, the
Yeah,
marketing
no, it
side.
actually help us. Believe it or not, it actually help us with that, like with the end consumer, but it also help us with retailers because retailers understood that we're not like selling to everybody. So we're like, oh, this is nice. This is exclusive. It's not like you're gonna like find it everywhere. Actually, that was one of the main reasons why we lost Macy's at some point. Because I think it's completely normal for a brand to evolve, right? So at the beginning, I didn't have like the money to invest that much in the product and like I do today. So what happens is that the product was a little bit like, average quality kind of thing. I was starting off quote unquote, and then
Yeah.
I started off like years ago. Um but at the same time the price, it was like a little bit lower and everything, so it came to a point that we lost that clientele, because the price was higher and we're offering something limited, something that it was hard to like find. So, but funny enough, the day we got like the contract with Macy's, that same day Saks came in. So, I'm always the kind of person that I think like, look, when a door like closes, two windows open, and so yeah, going back to your question, that part of the limited edition has helped us with the end consumer, but also with retailers.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And obviously, all of that, whether it's limited edition or whether it's just a normal range or whatever, you mentioned quality of product as well. Um, some of our listeners, and I know this because I used to be like this myself, and just ordering from like a factory in China, going, "That design's cool. Let's order it in and try and sell it." And it's a really simple process. I understand that's not what you guys do, is it? Like, talk us through the design process. How do you guys go from, right, we want to create a new range, a new limited edition product or range of products? What's your design process to actually get that in front of a customer?
Well, I'm definitely not the designer itself. I
Mm.
don't know how to design because I didn't go to fashion school, but
Yeah.
I'm a numbers person. And I do have people in house that we work with us through the design process. Funny enough, there's something inside me that tells me what is going to sell and what is not. And sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel, because what happens is that when you try to reinvent the wheel too much, there's not a market for that. People don't dress like certain ways in every kind of city. For example, right now I live in Florida. Here in Miami, my customer is not in Miami, for example. My customer is in other places. So, what I'm saying is that you need to really like be very focused. Of one thing is what is beautiful for you. The other thing is what is gonna sell. So you need to be like in the mid of those two. And the other thing that I would recommend any kind of person starting in the fashion industry is that don't compete with trends. Like if you compete with trends, we're competing with a Fashion Nova, we're competing with like anybody that's like fast fashion, we're competing with a Zara. Like if you compete with those big players, you're gonna get screwed because they get new merchandise every 5 days, and everything is like super fast and lower prices. You need to have like a core for your collections and some DNA to your brand. In my case, is blazers and beautiful dresses. So work around that, but don't try to like reinvent the wheel and just like, oh, right now, I don't know, like skinny jeans are a trend. I'm gonna like come up with skinny jeans. Like everybody else is doing that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think with trends as well, I think you're absolutely right because the nature of a trend is it's here now and it's definitely going to be gone very soon. Do you ever find that in your warehouse you have dead stock? You can't sell it, no one wants to buy it, and you can't get a refund on it? Or alternatively, you're missing inventory in your warehouse that you need. You've got sales coming in and you're low on stock and you haven't ordered more stock in time. All these things hit profit. And I've been there. I've run my own Shopify store and had exactly that problem. But we've partnered it up with Inventory Planner, who have the most incredible app to help you manage that and forecast exactly what products, what SKUs, even down to what color of product you need to order in advance to make sure stock levels remain consistent throughout. They're also running a 7-day boot camp. And if you want to go and sign up to that, it's 7 emails over 7 days. And it takes the same amount of time as your morning coffee. And in 7 days, like me, you can become an inventory management pro. Both links are in the description. Enjoy. So it's like, in terms of what you were saying earlier about limited edition products, the good thing is then there's a bit of a fight amongst customers to like get it quickly and get the right size and the right design before that limited range is gone and gone forever. Whereas, yeah, obviously with the fast fashion world, it's like if you order on trends and you sell maybe 60 or 70% of them, that's great. But then the trend's now gone. So you've got all this stock that nobody wants. Like, well, what do you do with it next? Because you've already paid for it. So even if you reuse the materials, it's like, well, now we're paying again in staff costs, transport costs, maybe stitching costs and other stuff and machines to actually reuse the products as well. Like, whereas I love what you're doing because you must end up with very, very little waste actually in the warehouse and the stock you buy.
It's so funny. The other day we were actually counting what was like leftover in this in the and we work with like many warehouses. We will think of like we're leftover so we can do like a sample sale or something similar, and that was not much. And this has been like that since we started, but it's simply because of that. Unfortunately, you cannot. It's very hard to compete with those. It's they have a huge demand, and a lot of these brands they also have like big numbers investment in the back, backing them up. Not my case. So, I need to be very smart at what I put my money at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the other thing as well is if you were to start trying to go against one of these big players, like in advertising or something, they
Yeah.
can just completely dwarf you. And whatever messaging you're using, they could upgrade their messaging to go, yeah, you don't want this style anymore, you want this one. And they're basically just saying, don't buy from you, buy from us. And they've got way more purchasing power for media and advertising space and that kind of thing, which obviously is going to hurt you a lot. So
Tell me
yeah, I
about it.
completely hear you. Um, but in terms of marketing, then, so obviously a lot of the stuff you sell is sold through wholesale through other retailers. What percentage do you do kind of online versus stuff you sell to wholesale? Like, do you have quite a lot of direct loyal customers, or is it mostly through stores people buy, or is it a combination of the
I
two?
went I went the other way around because the acquisition cost of getting customers in the US is very high. And I couldn't put like all my money into like Facebook ads campaigns and like marketing campaigns to sell to the end
It's more
consumer.
expensive here, by the way, in the UK. It's way more
Really?
expensive in the
Oh my
US.
God,
Yeah,
yeah,
US
it's
is
so
cheap
hard.
for us. Yeah,
Um, Funny enough, what I did is that I kind of like went backwards. So what I did is that I started like contacting retailers and cold calling and going to trade shows because I saw that was kind of easier to get like volume orders and instead of like trying to get like one-to-one consumer. So I kind of like did it like the other way around. No, usually like people when they have like fashion brands or product-based brands, they try to go to the end consumer first. I did it the other way around because for me it's what makes sense. I needed volume and I needed like margins. So that was kind of like the thing. And eventually that way, when the retailers trust you, it it's like a domino effect. The people like
yeah, yeah.
start trusting you again.
Amazing, amazing. And a lot of brands do that as well. Because obviously, if you sold 50,000 lines or something to a retailer one year, trying to sell, as you say, 50,000 products, paying Facebook or Google like $30 or $40 a time, if you got it really lean, like it's a lot more money. Obviously, on the flip side, and I guess more of your long term strategy now that you've got more of those retail relationships is to do more direct because then you do own the customer journey. But
Yeah,
as you
it's
say, when
beautiful when you own the customer
yeah,
journey. It's beautiful, but it's
it
not an easy
is.
one
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, yeah. We work with so many brands that have gone, have started with wholesale and then they come to us going, right, we need to do customer acquisition, we need to do it lean, and we need a really good lifetime value because we know we're not going to make profit on that first order from them. So we know we're going to have to get second, third, fourth orders, which is what you're talking about, isn't it? Is that you own the customer now, so you can do that lifetime value, and they're now only shopping on your store. They're not going on Macy's and seeing like 20 different brands on there and deciding between the 20, and you're one of 20 now, so you're obviously going to lose out. And but obviously, certainly with wholesalers, I've found over the years that social media is such an important part of everything you do. I know even calling it social media sounds a bit old school, but having a good presence on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, how have you guys approached that over the years? And how important has that been to wholesale versus your own site and your own brand kind of direct customer
Yeah.
relationships?
So at the beginning of the brand, I would say that Instagram was like a very easy space to navigate. Organic posts, perform. I'm not saying that these days it doesn't perform, but the space has changed a little bit more.
It's not the same. Yeah.
And the influencer space was less saturated when it is today. Like today, everybody's is just an influencer. So it came to a point that we were using PR agencies to get like placements with like these very beautiful influencers that had like a bunch of followers, and only like I would say like 10% were converting. So it was like, what is happening, so there's that's what I say to any kind of entrepreneurs. There's a huge difference between brand awareness and marketing and converting into sales, not the same. And I would say even to so then we started shifting the strategy to only micro influencers, which was a little bit easier, and it actually converted to sales, so that was better. But right now and then what we did eventually, there's that Vogue and Glamour magazine and things like that started contacting us. So we eventually put our efforts into that and to get like placements and magazines and things like that, because at the very end you also need that. But yeah, I mean, that's my takeaway on influencers. I think these days, unfortunately, the market is so saturated that it's way better to have a 10K influencer that has your exact niche and your exact consumer and your buyer persona, than having a person that has like, I don't know, a million followers that's only men, and just because she's posting bikini pictures, to give you an example, and it's not even your target. She's not gonna convert for you. So I think, yeah, especially these days, I think people is like way less and less um loyal to them, because some of these people, they promote anything that is free for them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a hard
Yeah.
space to navigate.
Yeah, I'm quite well connected in travel influencers, especially, and I've certainly seen some of that where they've got like a good following, and now they just go on traveling trips all around the world, and they get given clothing to go with them, and that sort of stuff. When you look at their followings, it's not who you think it is. Like I think quite a lot of yeah, quite a lot of brands I talk to is doing exactly what you're doing. If anyone wants any support with micro influencers, by the way, Afluencer are one of our sponsors, so check out a link on our website www.podcast.com, because those guys, they're really good at helping you find micro influencers. They plug into Shopify, or you can just use it direct on their site. But it's exactly what you're describing. And we've had Brett on the show, the CEO, a few times, and he talks a lot about saying, actually, why don't you just start with like 3 or 4 and find those exact niches? If you send 3 or 4 products out to people and one of them worked, it's like, great, you've now found someone, and you can work with them and invest in them long time. You can start paying them for posts if whether you pay them or not the first time, and start actually investing and growing with them. And then you can end up with growing with like 5 or 10 or 20, and start, as you say, building that niche. Because even 10,000 followers, if 1,000 of them are engaged and they are potential customers for you, that's 1,000 potential
Oh, for
customers, a
sure, for
thousand
sure.
products you could sell every, what, three,
Totally,
four
I agree with
months.
you. And
It's a
what
really good model.
Yeah, and what also has worked for us very well is affiliate links too. So they basically get a commission out of the sale, so it makes it easier to also, engage them.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about affiliates for a second, because quite often when we say affiliate links, a lot of people then think like, okay, cashback websites and stuff.
Oh, no, 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 no.
But yeah, I was going to say, so talk us through, what is your affiliate strategy? Because I'm assuming it's not that. It must be way more
No,
sophisticated than.
essentially what happens is that we have some creators that want to work with us, and we definitely have like a base and everything for them. They choose a product and everything. We craft a campaign, but the campaign itself has a checkout link with a special code that makes this affiliate itself like basically get part of the revenue from that order. So, we split percentages in commissions, and they get paid through PayPal, essentially.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which is what I was expecting you to say. Because yeah, sometimes when I talk about affiliate marketing, certainly to our clients, they immediately sort of say like, "Oh my gosh, we don't want to be on a cashback website." I'm like, "That's not. That's one.
No, it's
That's
not. It's
one
not.
type of affiliate agreement." But yeah, but what you're talking about is influencers who are going to then have an affiliate agreement, or as you say, content creators. So they'll create some content, they drive traffic to your site, and they get a referral kickback of anything that's sold, which is cool. And I guess you're probably quite a good or quite an attractive option to them, because your products are there's enough margin in the products that even 5 or 10%. I don't know what, you don't have to tell us what you charge, but even a small percentage of the total product is still a good amount of money for them. That actually, if they get 5 orders from one post or one creative or one campaign or something,
Totally.
it starts to pay them a bit of money, doesn't it? When you guys have got some good sales in and you own that customer direct, so
Yeah.
it's a nice win-win.
Yeah. Actually, we're gonna work soon within a company that they actually work with like more affiliates like that. So yeah, I guess I think in these days, in this economy and everything, I think is one of the best ways to
Yeah, yeah,
drive a little bit of
absolutely.
traffic. Yeah.
Yeah. And now something else you guys do that I think's a little bit more unique than just a standard like come to our website and buy something is around community.
Yeah,
And obviously customers today, I mean customer demands, you talk about how long you've been in business. I've been in this industry in e-commerce for about sort of 16, 17 years now. And one of the things I've seen is back in the day, if you just sold a product online when I first started in Google Ads, if you sold a product online, I could run an advertising campaign for you and people would just buy it. It'd be like you'd be one of three options. The game's changed and people want to feel like they're part of a brand, part of a community, part of you mentioned charity partners earlier as well. Like, I
yeah,
think all of these things are really
yeah.
compelling. But how do you guys as a brand actually build that community? How do you make customers feel welcome and loved by buying from your site or from your brand?
Again, all of my marketing, what is the name? All of my marketing towards the beginning of the brand was kind of like non-existent budget
Mm, yeah,
because I didn't have it. But but
that's
what
cool.
happened, yeah, but what happened is that eventually you start, even if you do like small influencers, small placements or whatever it is, always, 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 always aim to the target that you want to be in. Like it doesn't matter how many likes or how many people is looking at at this creator or whatever. Just make sure that she has your buyer persona as a friend, that they're following them, so things like that. And also with the charities itself or the philanthropy we're doing, we also try to partner with things that resonate with the brand. So that's kind of like the way we're engaging consumers in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And
Even
I certainly
sorry,
see.
sorry
Oh,
to
sorry. Yeah, yeah, no,
yeah,
go
no,
on.
so I forgot to say something. Even when you purchase like any kind of our pieces on the label itself and the hand tag shows that we're collaborating, like why us, all of that. So, that of course makes you
Yeah, yeah.
sense of belonging.
And that must help you convert more because someone goes, okay, by buying this item,
Yeah,
someone
of
else somewhere has
course.
benefited
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah, for
this.
sure.
Yeah, which makes you go like, right, I need to buy another item. Well, do you know, what? I felt really good actually helping someone by buying a new outfit. Like, and it's like it's a really good win-win, I think. Certainly one of the things I've seen brands really fall down before is when they try to do like the kind of goodwill or help the planet or help some people out or do something with charities, they've almost just gone, I would say very like cliche. And it's like, right, let's get plastic out of the ocean and let's plant trees or carbon offset or something. And like it's cool, but as you say, it doesn't resonate with your brand. If your brand is fashion, actually saying that by buying this item, we're giving an item of clothing to somebody else or something like that, it's way more relatable. I can't remember the brand. Is it Tom Tom or Croc or
Toms,
somebody?
Toms,
Um,
Toms.
Sorry?
Yeah, the shoes, Toms.
Yeah, yeah, Tom's. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they gave a pair of shoes to somebody
Yes.
in a third world country
Yeah.
that needed it every time you
Yeah.
bought one. And it's
That
like,
was beautiful.
that's such a good thing to do.
Yeah.
And also from Tom's point of view as well, like to deliver like 10,000 shoes to one location and a charity to give them out. That was probably the same as I think I read somewhere it cost them about a third of what it did just to send one item to somebody in the UK or the US or someone around Europe. So it actually cost them a third of the price. So it wasn't anywhere near as expensive as people thought, but that actually started to justify the price of Tom's as a
I
brand. Like
remember.
buying that
Yeah.
product means you're doing this.
I was a
It's
I was a customer.
yeah, same. It was quite a commitment for Tom's though. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe they were doing it. I was like, well, I'm obviously going to buy one because then I have to give a pair to somebody else. But also, I mean, they're amazing shoes because then I wore them, fell in love with them, and yeah, I had a few pairs of them. So I think, as you say, like that charity partner resonating, I think, is so important with that. Um, how do you guys find, obviously, in your sort of fashion world, one of the biggest things that can hit businesses is returns. You know, customer receives something, they send it back. How do you guys manage the return process? Like, has that ever come to haunt you? Has it been an issue, or does it tend to be
Well,
okay?
at the beginning, this was an issue, because a
Mm,
lot of people, unfortunately, they tend to like use a garment and then try to return it. That happens. But thankfully, thanks to AI and a lot of like new programs that are going out there, you can see the pattern of a customer too. If they return too much, if they return too less, or whatever it is. And also, there's another thing that we came up with is that we have like this return tags on all of the garments that have like a barcode that it's impossible for you to wear like the garment with that because it will show all over.
that's smart.
So
I
yeah,
like that.
so if you open that barcode, it's impossible to like stitch it again.
Mm,
So that makes the item non-returnable. When it comes to jewelry pieces, for example, earrings and things like that, you cannot return because of hygiene purposes. But yeah, we have a very flexible return policy. So I mean, it's for now, and the only thing that has impacted us is in terms of logistics, because it's getting the return back to the warehouse. It's basically making like the entire process of when the garment enters the warehouse to where we refund the item or whatever it is, depending if it's out of sale or not. That's the only kind of thing. But for the fashion industry, I don't think we have a high rate of return at all.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a real challenge for brands. And
Oh, it
you
is.
reminded me of, we used to work with a company that sold underwear. And what they would do is you could only buy underwear in packs. And the pack, you say about the barcode, they would put one of those plastic tags that would hold like 3 pairs of underwear together. So there's no way you could wear these things for a
Yeah.
day because you'd have
Yeah.
three of them attached
That's so
and you
funny.
couldn't return it. I thought it's very similar to what you were saying about making sure that like it's really visible in the garment, the return tag
It's
once
literally
that's
a
taken
ribbon.
off.
It's a ribbon and goes around the piece. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think it's really, really smart having stuff like that. Yeah, certainly included. But and I guess final question from me then is like, it sounds like you've been on such an amazing journey, and as you say, like you're passionate about this, you really want to keep pushing this thing. What are you trying to do? Like, what are you looking at in 2025? What are you looking at over the next 5 years? Like, where do you want to take the brand, and what are some of the challenges you think you're going to face?
So first of all, we're trying to come up with another line for January 2026. So, next year. But second part of this is that we're trying to expand internationally. So we got an offer from a couple of stores in Dubai. So we're gonna see how that works for us. It's a new market, but since our pieces are not like super super sexy, they like us and everything. It's more on the conservative side. So yeah, that's kind of like the road expansion, international expansion, and keep growing. I think the sky's the limit. Sometimes people ask me like,
Yeah,
Isabel, where do you want to get? Where do you want to go? I'm like the moon.
yeah. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. I mean, look, all the best with the journey. I mean, you've had
Thank
some
you.
amazing successes. I mean, I was saying just before we start recording as well. Definitely go and check out their Instagram and stuff, guys, because you guys got some mentions in Vogue and stuff on the front cover, like
Oh,
pinned on
thank you.
Instagram.
Thank you
It's
so much.
really cool. If anyone missed the name of the brand, how can people find your website? How can they reach out to you? How can they get in touch?
So they can find a website at akaliaofficial.com. We had to put the official because there was somebody like trying to copy us like 12 years ago. It's okay.
Yeah.
That means you're doing a good job, by the way.
Mm.
And essentially that, and on Instagram is the same as akaliaofficial.com. Akalia means gifted in Greece, in Greek, sorry. So that means that every kind of woman comes with something different that makes her different and special, like a gift. What else? You can find me on my social media. I have like 2 followers. I'm super private on my social media, but I do
Yeah.
have a professional Instagram where I consult some small business owners if somebody needs, which is scale your product in on Instagram. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Isabel, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you
Really
so much
appreciate
for your
it. Thank you
time.
for sharing your story as well.
Of course.
Amazing. And for everyone listening at home, we'll be back again next Friday. And a massive sorry, I should say at the start. We didn't post last week because we had a bit of a mix up with a number of different people. So apologies we didn't post, but we normally post every Friday. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter as well. We're sending out some amazing exclusives. And there's a couple of competitions possibly coming up as well. So join our newsletter, www.podcast.com. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you again next Friday. Our partners at Seguno have released a brand new app for Shopify, and it's called Shopify Connect for Canva. You can essentially look at all of your product images from Shopify directly in Canva and export them straight back. This can save you a lot of time. If you want to find out a bit more about this or go and find the app yourself, you can go to seguno.com/Canva. Enjoy.